Welcome back. I'm trying to make a grape tree. That's what this is. This is my grape tree. But it's the time of year to prune grapes. So today I'm going to show you a little bit about grape pruning. In particular, muscadine grape pruning. I don't want this to grow back, so I'm going to cut it below the existing buds and make it disappear. I don't want lower branches on this one, so we'll get close as we can here. You want to cut your grapevines in the right time of year, and that is right before they wake up in the spring. I'm sure some of the commercial guys have all kinds of great suggestions on it. There's a lot of research has gone into growing grapes and pruning grapes and the best grape training systems. But I learned from my South African friend Dave Taylor, who had a muscadine U-pick, and he had a few acres of grapes, and I said, man, I think I want to come over and help you prune those. And he said, sure, I'll show you what I do. Those were trained on lines like good, honest grapes, not weird grocery row experiment grapes like this one. I want fruit starting about here. So I'm removing these guys, get them out, and now I'm going to start pruning for fruit. I went over and I helped him on his couple of acres, and we spent probably 4 or 5 days or more pruning grapes. And this is how he showed me to do it. You're going to select 2 or 3 buds where you're going to get your new growth from, and then cut off after them. So right here, you look for last year's growth. So this probably grew last year, right? Take that right there. This one right here has a few potential little branches on it. If they're weak and weeny and sad looking, cut them off. If they look like they might be able to bear some grapes, you might leave them. That one I don't see any green on the inside of, but I see green on this one. So I'm going to take all of this back to here, because that does not look like it's a particularly happy piece of vine. This one here is just one long one, and I don't see any spurs that it could bear on, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, cut it off. You'll actually be surprised with how much grapevines can grow and bear in a single season. Once you start growing them, you realize they're incredibly vigorous. You're not going to over prune them, most likely, but you do want to leave them a place for them to bloom. But they bloom on the new growth, so you don't have to worry about having old fruiting areas. So here, I like this. I like all these bits and pieces. I could potentially get fruit there, could potentially get fruit there, so I'm leaving a couple of buds, 2 or 3 buds, 2 or 3 buds. We're going to try and make it keep this nice tree shape, but tight to the top. So I'm trying to cut last year's growth because that's where we're going to see our blooms. This is the year before, and this is last year. You could see a delineation right here with the fresher, nicer looking, obvious growth. This is older, gnarled growth right here, so I'm going to count a couple of buds on here and just let one stay. There's last year right here, previous year right here. This is a sad little non-green one there. I'm gonna leave that little piece and leave a little piece right here for possible grapes to fruit on. Just have to make sure your timing is right. You don't want to do this at the wrong time of year, but if you wait, you just get a huge tangled mess of vines. So it's better to go and hack and not know what you're doing often than it is to just let it become a big tangled mess of vines, because you'll have almost complete non-productivity if you let that go on too long, especially if you're growing in a tight space. I just want to keep enough pieces that are likely to give me some fruits, but reduce the length of a lot of these long ones. Now when you do this, you think actually you're making it smaller too, and you are making it smaller in the short term. But the new growth that you get and the vigor and the amount of blooms after pruning is almost unbelievable. If you haven't pruned grapes before and watched how they grow back, you can almost watch them grow. They grow so fast. It's nuts how fast they grow. So don't worry about, oh no, I think I cut too much. Again, it's just, if you cut at this time of year, it is counterintuitive, perhaps, but it increases their vigor. By cutting back this far of that stem, this thing is just gonna go, yes, I'm totally gonna grow like crazy now. And it will take off from that point and grow even more. I like that shape going over there, so I'm gonna give it a few extra buds. I thought that maybe I should weld a couple of pieces up top here, you know, to give it even more something to climb on, but I'm not that clever. And then I think right here, and that looks pretty good to me. I've got it up to here, got my little ball on top. Hopefully we get some grapes out of there. It's kind of fun to do this way. This vine here has been in the ground for 2 years. It is a golden muscadine that tastes wonderful. We got our first fruit off it last summer, and I want to cut it back quite a bit because it's really a tangled mess on top of here, and we don't need all of this. We're gonna get more fruit if we prune it than if we just let it continue to try and fight here. So it's a little different than if I was training on a wire and I had a really clearly delineated couple of lines. There's a swoop over here and there's a swoop over here, and I kind of want to keep those swoops with this cool knotted up look here. I don't necessarily want to prune for just highest productivity. We're already doing it on a cattle panel, which is not what any, you know, professional grape vineyardist would do. So I'm just going to make sure I've got fruiting spurs out here and that I have removed a lot of the new vines that showed up while leaving this pretty tied up structure right here, because I just love the way they look. They're very architectural, sweeping organic forms. So all this, seeing all this weak stuff, take it all out of there. We don't need that. And I'm gonna try and keep vines that look pretty good, that could give me a little place for grapes to grow out of, and cut them back to 2 or 3 little buds. This right here is completely unnecessary. This whole piece of vine right here, because it's cutting over one of my other older vines. Just 2 of them going in a row, not necessary. That's not necessary. You can start making nice big sweeping decisions. But I want to keep this structure here and this structure here, and I kind of like how it twists around here too. It looks cool. You can see last year there were grapes right there along these, and I'm going to cut them back so they make new growth and they make grapes again. I'll be at this for quite a bit, so go get some coffee or something, and I'll show this to you when it's a little more done. I hope you had a nice long break. My camera lady went in for coffee and then ended up taking care of the baby, and I think she smoked a roast, and I ended up going and pruning about 4 more grapevines and then pulling out all the wheel hose and looking at them and then deciding that it would be a good idea to come out here and plow up the newly emerging seedlings here and, you know, get the weeds out from around them. But what were we doing? Oh, I should show you what we did with the muscadines. That's right. I'll show you what we did with the muscadines. Let's go over there. I'll meet you on the other end, but don't get any more coffee. Anybody know how to make baskets? I made a really ugly muscadine vine basket once. I don't really have the time or the patience for basket making, but I did it. There's a little grape tree here in the grocery row, and here's our other experiment, all ready to go for the spring. You can see I got it down to this scaffold right here. I like that shape. I cut a ton off of it. Probably 2/3 of the vines are gone. And I stopped it right here at the middle. So it just comes up to the middle. It wants to run over. There's a much weaker muscadine down here that I also pruned. That one I should probably just dig up and move somewhere else and let this one eat the whole trellis, because they did not have anywhere near equal vigor. But this is gonna come back and fruit like crazy this year. So that's what you gotta do. You just gotta get out there at this time of year and get rolling. There is a season to everything that you have to do in farming and gardening, and this is pruning, grafting, planting season, and it all comes upon you at once. Also this year we are doing a the Grow 500 challenge, where you try to grow 500 pounds of food in your backyard. If you want to join the challenge and you want to support what I'm doing on this channel, please come join our community, where I have a lot of exclusive videos, including the Food Forest course, and we've got a lot of people taking part in the Grow 500 challenge, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I just think if you can grow 500 pounds of food in your backyard, you can grow as much food as you ever wanted. It's really not as hard as you think, and you have until August to win the challenge and win prizes. So come on over. I'll put a link to that below. Thanks for joining me. If you want to learn more about muscadine grapes, I have another video on it, which is free here on YouTube, and you can see what it takes to grow muscadines in a more traditional system. Catch you next time, and until then, may your thumbs always be green.